The Fambridge Flight Grounds in South Fambridge in Essex is believed to be Britain's first ever airfield. The 3,000-acre extent of land, which included buildings formerly occupied by a small colony of workmen engaged in a large engineering factory, as well as the factory itself, was founded in February 1909 by Noel Pemberton-Billing, an aviation pioneer of many talents, and who formed the Aero colony. Flying rights up to the coast were purchased, which provided a straight course a mile wide and 25 miles long at low tide. The large workshop was partitioned off into a series of lock-up sheds on each side of the main aisle, and were suggested to be rented out at £50 per annum, where experimenters could work in private upon their machines. The main aisle itself was reserved for general work, and the headroom beneath the rafters was used for the storing of aeroplanes which were temporarily out of use. A staff of men were kept on under the charge of a foreman, to assist experimenters, who would contribute 10 shillings a week to a fund for their wages. Experimenters and aviators had an added advantage of residing in any of the 20 bungalows which were made available at 3 shillings per week, and there were 12 brick cottages in reserve. The site already had a telegraph and post office, and was about to be connected by telephone. It also had a general store, and not too far distant was a hotel as well as a conveniently situated clubhouse. Besides pursuing the development of civilian aviation for commercial and recreational purposes, Pemberton-Billing was the nucleus to bring about the formation of an Imperial Flying Squadron, a forerunner to the British military aviation. He was born in London, but spent most of his adult life in Burnham-on-Crouch, where he started his own aircraft manufacturing company, later renaming it Supermarine. That company would go on to design and produce the Spitfire fighter aircraft. Not long after the opening of Fambridge was announced in the press in February 1909, another aerodrome was established at Lacedown on the Isle of Sheppey in Kent, and soon afterwards, an aerodrome was opened at Dagenham. There were several designers of land-based aeroplanes and seaplanes producing their early aircraft at the hangars in South Fambridge, such as Frederick Handley Page, who experimented with biplanes and monoplanes at Barking Creek, and cooperated with Jose Weiss and incorporated some of the Weiss designs. Eardley Billing, the brother of Noel, formed the Colony of British Aircraft Company in the hope of attracting and building a community of developers of experimental aircraft. Eric Gordon England was the aerodrome manager, and one of the early pioneers of gliding. Dr. Alexander Keith, who with Vincent Nicholas Francis Joseph Weiss, known as Jose Weiss, were designers and builders of gliders and monoplanes. Richard Lascelles, the aero engine and parts supplier. Gustavus Green, the aero engine manufacturer. Albert Pink, Gerald Leake, W. O. Manning, C. E. Whittaker, and many others, all either taking off from the airfield or floating them out to carry out test runs and takeoffs and landings in the very wide, straight and calm waters of the tidal River Crouch. Jose Weiss built his first monoplane, the single-seat tailless monoplane called the Jose Weiss No. 1, Madge, named after one of his 5 daughters, which went on to be exhibited on the Handley Page stand at the first Aero Show at Olympia in March 1909. It's worth noting that while working for Pemberton-Billing in 1909, Eric Gordon England met Jose Weiss, who designed and built tailless gliders, and England became an assistant to Weiss. On the 27th of June, Gordon England flew a Weiss glider, named Olive, after another of Weiss's daughters, at Amberley Mount, Sussex, on a height-gaining flight that reached 100 feet. It is the first recorded soaring flight, and is considered to be the birth of the sport of gliding. Robert Francis McPhee was an American-born engineer and early aviator who in 1909 moved to England to study engineering. Construction of his shoulder-wing tractor monoplane commenced on the 2nd of August, and was completed on the 16th of September, with the first flights taking place during the following 5 weeks. Howard T. Wright's 2-bay pusher biplane was built for Malcolm Seton Carr to a design by W. O. Manning, and it was completed in time for exhibition at the 1909 Olympia Aero Show, where it was acclaimed for its outstanding workmanship. After the show, the biplane was taken to Fambridge and housed in a purpose-built shed while being readied for further testing. However, the rough nature of the ground at Fambridge was not conducive to further success, and the biplane was taken for more trials to Camber Sands near Rye in Sussex. With so many planes getting bogged down, quite literally, in the marshy landing area, the site closed on the 11th of November of the same year. Today the airfield is now farmland and a housing estate with one of the streets aptly named Pemberton Field. Some of the houses Pemberton-Billing built for aviation experimenters to inhabit are still standing. Fambridge, along with Laysdown in Kent, were the first two airfields associated with aviation pioneers to have granite airfield markers erected by the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust, and was unveiled by Kenneth Bannerman, Director General of the ABCT, on the 20th of February 2009, with a tribute flypast during the ceremony by the Grace Spitfire, flown by Essex pilot Caroline Grace, who made many low-level flypasts and aerobatic maneuvers over the village.